Good morning. Please stand for the presentation of the colors. At this time, I'd ask Mrs. Compton to come up with our ASL students for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Good morning to our veterans, their families and friends, to our faculty and staff and our students. On behalf of the School District New Holstein, I would like to welcome you to our annual Veterans Day program. This event serves as a heartfelt tribute to the brave men and women who have selflessly served our nation, alongside a deep appreciation for their sacrifices and the values that they have upheld. The posting of the colors today was done by the Abler-Engel American Legion Post 454. The Abler-Engel American Legion Post 454 of Mount Calvary has a proud history rooted in community and service. On November 11th, 1945, shortly after the end of World War II, local veterans gathered for a dinner banquet to discuss forming an American Legion post in Mount Calvary. With guidance from guest speaker Mr. McEnroe of Fond du Lac, the group voted to move forward and appointed a committee of 5 men: Nick Abler, Anthony Holtzman, Leo Schaefer, Joseph Schaub, and Erwin Hiring to organize the new post. Later that month, the group met at the home of Nick Abler to plan the official opening and to recruit members. They invited local veterans to join. They collected their dues, and they raised funds by selling discharge signs. On November 30th, 1945, 27 members attended the first official meeting and voted to name the post in honor of Alex M. Abler, a 26-year-old radio man and Mount Calvary's first World War II casualty who lost his life in an airplane crash on May 24th, 1943. In 1971, the post name was changed to the Abler-Engel Post 454 to also honor Alan N. Engel, a 20-year-old from Tachita who was killed in action during the Vietnam War on June 19, 1967. Today, Post 454 continues to serve veterans, their families, and the community with a membership of about 150. This year, the Post proudly celebrates its 80th anniversary, a lasting tribute to generations of service, of sacrifice, and of dedication to our nation. Thank you very much, and please enjoy today's program. At this time, the middle school choir, under the direction of Miss Amber Williamson, will sing "Let Freedom Ring." Thank you, Ms. Williamson, and our middle school choir. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. Today's guest speaker is Technical Sergeant Richard Brocker, United States Air Force retired. Richard is a United States Air Force veteran who served from 2007 to 2019, and he is currently working for the Fond du Lac Police Department as a digital forensics analyst. With over 15 years of law enforcement, security, and information technology experience, he continues to serve his community by assisting local, state, and federal agencies with digital evidence collection and analysis. Richard spent several years of his military career as a military training instructor and an instruction supervisor responsible for training thousands of military members key skills to protect nuclear weapons. Richard deployed to Balad Air Base, Iraq, and Moron Air Base, Spain, in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Richard graduated from the Air Force Basic Instructor Course, Department of Defense Non-Lethal Individual Weapons Instructor Course, Airman Leadership School, the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, and multiple hand-to-hand combat and weapons instructor courses. Richard also has graduated from multiple digital forensics courses with the United States Secret Service. Outside of work, Richard enjoys spending time with his family and his wife and children at their home, taking care of their dogs, ducks, and chickens, working on his truck, playing video games with his friends, and watching hockey games with his family. Please join me in a warm welcome for Richard Brocker.
Good morning, everyone. privilege to be here today among students, teachers, community members, and fellow veterans to honor Veterans Day. To every man and woman here who has worn the uniform of the United States military, thank you. Thank you for your courage, your service, and the countless sacrifices most people will never see. For me, the path to wearing that uniform began long before I ever stepped onto a military base. I grew up in a family where military service was a tradition. I've had family members serve in every conflict, from World War I all the way to Iraq and Afghanistan. I grew up hearing stories of duty, honor, and sacrifice, and I knew that someday I wanted to add my own chapter to that story. When the attack on September 11th, 2001 happened, I was in 7th grade. I was at home that day with my dad, who had just retired from the Air Force the day before. We took a sick day from school. I remember sitting there as we watched the towers fall on the news together. I remember the silence in the room, the shock on my dad's face, and the way the world seemed to change in that instant. Amid the confusion and heartbreak, one thing became crystal clear to me. I was going to serve my country. In November of 2007, I joined the United States Air Force as a Security Forces Airman. My first duty station was Eielson Air Force Base in the middle of Alaska, where I served from 2008 to 2011. During that time, I deployed to Iraq, serving on Balad Air Base, a place that carried the nickname of Mortaritaville. It earned that name because we were under near constant rocket and mortar attacks. You learn to live with the sound of incoming fire. You learn to run for cover without thinking. And you learn that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing your job in spite of it. I also deployed to Morón Air Base in Spain in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and later I was stationed in North Dakota from 2011 to 2019, where I worked in nuclear security, protecting some of the most powerful weapons on Earth, ensuring that peace was maintained through readiness. Throughout those years, I learned lessons that no classroom could ever teach. I learned how to lead troops, how to trust others with my life, and how to earn their trust in return. I learned responsibility and discipline, what it means to be part of a team that functions as one. One body with one mission. The Air Force also gave me opportunities to see the world. I traveled to places like Guam, Spain, Portugal, Kuwait, Qatar, Ireland, and more states than I ever expected to visit. I was a small town kid from North Dakota. Didn't think I'd make it out to Portugal and Kuwait. I trained alongside military members from other nations and other branches, all of us working toward one shared goal, keeping America safe. Along the way, I got to do some incredible things. I got to fire a lot of machine guns and sniper rifles. I got to set off plenty of explosives. I got to fly in a bunch of helicopters. All the fun things you see in the recruiting videos. But those moments of excitement pale in comparison to the deeper experiences of camaraderie, pride, and purpose. But like many veterans, my story took an unexpected turn. In 2015, I began to get sick. It started with severe migraines and moments where I would pass out without much warning. After months of tests and hospital visits, I learned that it was most likely from exposure to the toxic burn pits during my time in Iraq. In an instant, my life had changed. My plan had always been to serve for 30 years, retire honorably, and then become a police officer, continuing my life of service. But suddenly, those dreams were in jeopardy. Over the next 2 years, both military and civilian doctors worked tirelessly to help me recover, but my condition didn't improve. In 2018, the decision was made that I would be medically retired. When that day came in 2019, I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. Everything I had built my identity around, my service, discipline, purpose, it all seemed to vanish overnight. My career, my plans, and even my sense of direction were gone. I was crushed, to say the least. But here's something I've learned. Service to your country doesn't have to end when the uniform comes off. For a while, I struggled to see that. But through hard work, faith, and a bit of luck, my family and I found a new home here in Wisconsin. And though my path looked very different from what I'd imagined, I discovered a new calling, working with the police department, continuing to serve my community in a role that fits my abilities and my limitations. That's what resilience looks like. It's not about never failing. It's about getting back up every single time life knocks you down. It's about finding new ways to serve, new ways to lead, and new ways to make a difference. To the students here today, you didn't know life before 9/11. You've grown up in a nation shaped by the sacrifices of the men and women who served before and after that day. You've benefited from freedoms that others fought, bled, and in some cases died to preserve. My challenge to you is simple. Make your life worthy of that gift. You don't have to wear a uniform to serve your country. You can serve by being a good citizen, by showing respect, by working hard, standing up for what's right, and helping others. Patriotism isn't just flying a flag, it's living in a way that honors those who fought under it. And to my fellow veterans, thank you for continuing to serve, even after your time in uniform, whether you volunteer, mentor, raise families, or simply share your stories. You are living proof that service doesn't end at discharge. You continue to strengthen this nation every day. Now, I know that sometimes it feels like our country is divided. When I look back at my years of service, I remember men and women of every background, belief, and walk of life standing shoulder to shoulder, united by a common mission and a shared love of country. Out there, it didn't matter where you came from, what you believed, or who you voted for. What mattered was we had each other's backs. That's America at its best. That's the America worth defending. That's the America worth believing in. So today, as we honor our veterans, let's remember what that uniform represents. It's not just a symbol of strength, it's a symbol of commitment, sacrifice, and hope. And let's carry that same spirit forward in how we live, work, and treat one another. I'll end with this. Freedom is fragile, but the American spirit is not. As long as we remember our past, stand united in the present, and believe in our future, this nation will remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you all. May God bless our veterans, and may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Richard, for those inspiring words, for those lessons for our students, for the gratitude you're expressing towards your fellow veterans. That's an incredible story. We are so blessed that you and Kylie ended up in Wisconsin. We're so blessed that you're part of our community. So let's give another round of applause, please. At this time, high school student Carter Repke will read Expert from Red Platoon. Carter?
On October 3rd, 2009, Command Outpost Keating in the Nuristan province of Afghanistan was attacked by more than 300 Taliban fighters. They quickly overran Keating's defenses and breached his perimeter. Former Army Staff Sergeant Clint Romeshay led a small group of soldiers in a counterattack against seemingly insurmountable odds. In doing so, he saved dozens of American lives and would later receive the Medal of Honor, the United States' highest military award. In this excerpt from Red Platoon, A True American Story of Valor, Clint Romeshay's first-hand account of the battle, he describes a moment when the tide began to turn. By now, many members of Red Platoon who were not actively fighting on the perimeter or dead had holed up inside our barracks in what would be called the Alamo position, where they were joined by some guys from Blue and HQ platoons, plus a handful of extremely confused and frightened Afghan soldiers. It was an assaultic mix that included a number of our youngest and most traumatized soldiers, along with some experienced hands. There were aggressive soldiers like PFC Christopher Jones and SBC Thomas Rasmussen, aka Raz. And there were some guys like Kyle Knight, who fell closer to the timid end of the spectrum. And finally, there were also a few guys like Matthew Miller, a sergeant with headquarters platoon who had arrived at Keating less than 4,800 hours earlier, who were simply wondering how in the hell they'd gotten themselves into this fix. For the last 10 or 15 minutes, these men had been trickling through the door from every direction, driven inside by the knowledge that our defenses had been breached and that our perimeter could no longer hold. Some were clearly freaked out, stricken with fear, or shuddering on the verge of an all-out panic. All of them knew that things were getting worse, not better. And not one of them, if you'd asked at that moment, would have told you that they'd expect to live beyond the next 30 minutes. It's pretty bad out right now, Raz said to Armando Avalos, one of our forward observers. If you go out there, you're just gonna die. Most of these guys were lying on the floor with either a machine gun or their carbines. And when I burst through the door, they all looked up at the same time. Part of what defines an effective leader at the level of an infantry platoon is knowing that in difficult situations, actions carry greater than words. And in that moment, I could not have asked these men to participate in a counterattack unless I demonstrated that I was willing to take part in it myself and run the show. We're gonna take this back, I announced. I need a group of volunteers. Who's with me? During the pause that followed, the silent interval when the guys in that room stared up and took in what I just said, I'm pretty sure each of them was convinced I just lost my marbles. Judging by the looks on their faces, their collective response seemed to amount to a single question. Are you frickin' kidding? Then Raz, the former meth addict who had never finished high school and who had lived in people's basements until he joined the Army, stood up, all 6.5 feet of him. Half a second later, Jones and Miller, the new arrival, rose as well. They were joined by 2 additional men. We'll follow you anywhere, declared Raz. What are we doing? 5 guys. I had my team. I gave them a quick sketch of the plan and where we'd be heading. One last thing, guys, I said, pointing to the west door where we'd make our exit. There are no friendlies on the other side. Even if they're wearing an American uniform, do not hesitate to shoot first. Anybody you see in front of you is a hostile. Roger that? I got 5 nods in response. All right then, let's roll. As I moved towards the door, there was one thing left unsaid. A part of this mission that I hadn't bothered to mention in the briefing I just given. We were launching a counterattack for a range of reasons. To regain our ammo supply, to seal off our front gate, to push the Taliban back beyond the wire, to take back our house and unleash some intensely violent payback on the men who had slaughtered our comrades. But there was another objective as well, one that in some ways transcended everything else. It was well known that the Taliban placed great value on American bodies, which they removed from the battlefield and then filmed, and then posted the resulting videos on the internet. If that happened with any of the rest of my team, those of us who survived would spend the rest of our lives trying to get those YouTube images out of our heads. For these reasons, we had to get our dead back too, even if the effort to retrieve them might entail losing more guys, me included. Given for what we stood for and what we believed in, we really had no other choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter. At this time, the high school choir, under the direction of Ms. Amber Williamson, will sing the Star Spangled Banner. Thank you, Ms. Williamson and the high school choir. As we prepare for the 21-gun salute, shortly we'll have high school student Landon Floyd come forward and talk about the history of TAPS. Landon.
The history of TAPS in the military. Of all military bugle calls, none is so easily recognized or more emotionally stirring as TAPS. Its eloquent and haunting melody holds a special place in American military tradition. While the British Army has a similar call, known as the last post, TAPS is unique to the United States, sounded at funerals, wreath-laying ceremonies, and memorial services. In July 1862, Union General Daniel Adams Butterfield, a Medal of Honor recipient for his heroism at the Battle of Gaines' Mill, sought to replace the old French tune used for Lights Out with a more reflective one for his brigade in the Army of the Potomac. Working with his bugler, he revised an earlier bugle call, Tattoo, which had traditionally signaled troops to return to quarters and prepare for bed. Though often credited as the composer, Butterfield's contribution was actually a revision that transformed the melody into the 24 notes we now know as taps. The association of taps with the military funerals began during the Civil War. Captain John C. Tibble of Battery A, 2nd Artillery, ordered it played at the burial of a soldier during the Peninsular Campaign, when enemy in the area made the customary 3 volleys over the casket unsafe. This substitution quickly spread throughout the Army of the Potomac and became formalized in U.S. Army regulations by 1891. As soon as taps was first sounded that night, in July 1862, soldiers began pairing words with its melody. Though no official lyrics exist, one of the most enduring versions remains. Day is done, gone the sun. From the hills, from the lake, from the skies. All is well, safely rest, God is nigh. From its creation on a Civil War battlefield to its role in honoring those who served, TAPS endures as one of the most poignant and revered traditions in American military history.
Waiting on technology. Please stand. Mic's up. At this time, the Sons of the American Legion will provide us with a demonstration on flag folding protocol. Some of you may remember that they do this, I believe, in 5th grade at many of the local schools, so we thank them for sharing the protocol with us today. It's something we can always pay attention to and honor.
This is your United States of America's flag. We will now demonstrate the military folding of the flag. There are 13 folds of the U.S. flag, and each fold has a different meaning. The first fold, the symbol of life. The second fold, the belief in eternal life. The third fold, in honor and remembrance of the veterans being commemorated. The fourth fold, for divine guidance. The fifth fold, in tribute to our country. The sixth fold, our pledge to the flag. The seventh fold, tribute to our armed forces. The eighth fold, in honor of the mothers of veterans. The ninth fold, tribute to womanhood for their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion to veterans. The 10th fold, tribute to the fathers who gave their sons and daughters to the armed forces. The 11th fold, in the eyes of the Hebrew citizens, the seal of King David and Solomon. The 12th fold, in the eyes of Christian citizens, the emblem of eternity, glorifying God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the 13th fold, when the flag is completely folded, the stars face up, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." Notice that when the flag is completely folded, there should be no red showing.
Thank you to our Sons of the American Legion. At this time, I'd ask high school student Michaela Meyer to come forward to read "Expert from When We Were Soldiers."
Prologue from the book We Were Soldiers Once and Young by Hal Moore. This is a story about time and memories. The time was 1965, a different kind of year, a watershed year, one when one era was ending in America, another was beginning. We felt it then. In many ways, our lives changed so suddenly, so dramatically. And looking back on it from a quarter century gone, we are left in no doubt. It was the year America directly decided to intervene with the Bean Zion affair and obscured the distant Vietnam. It was the year we went to war. We went to war in the broad traditional sense that we who went to war was all of us, all Americans, though, in truth, At time, the larger majority had little knowledge of, less interest in, and no greater concern with what was beginning so far away. So this story is about the smaller, more tightly focused we of that sentence. The first American combat troops who boarded World War II era troop ships sailed to that little known place and fought the first major battle of conflict that would drag on for 10 long years and come as nearly to destroying America as it did to destroying Vietnam. The La Durang campaign was to the Vietnam War as it was to the terrible Spanish Civil War of 1930s. It was to World War II. As a dress rehearsal, the place where new tactics, new techniques, and weapons were tested, perfected, and validated. In the La Durang, both sides claimed victory, and both sides drew lessons. Some of them dangerously deceptive, which echoed and resuscitated through decades of bloody fighting and bitter sacrifice that was to come. This is about what we did, what we saw, what we suffered in a 34-day campaign in the La Durang Valley of Central Highlands of South Vietnam in November 1965. We were young, confided, and patriotic. Our countrymen knew little and cared less about our sacrifices. Another war story, you say? Not exactly. For on a more important level, this is a love story, told in our own words and by our own actions. We were the children of 1950s, and we went where we were sent because we loved our country. We were the draftees, most of us, but we were proud of the opportunity to serve our country, just as our fathers had served in World War II and our older brothers in Korea. We were members of an elite, experimental combat division trained in the new art of airmobile warfare at the behest of President John F. Kennedy. Just before we shipped out to Vietnam, the Army handed us the colors of the historic 1st Cavalry Division, and we all proudly sewed on the big yellow and black shoulder patches with horse head salutes. We went to war because our country asked us to go, because our new president, Lyndon B. Johnson, ordered us to go, but more importantly, because we saw it as our duty to go. This is one kind of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. At this time, under the direction of Ms. Lau, we will have the marches of the armed forces with the middle and high school band. Veterans, we'd ask that you please stand, if able, when your branch of service anthem is played. Please stand for the retiring of the colors.
As we come to the close of our Veterans Day program, we would like to extend our sincere appreciation to those who helped make today so meaningful. Thank you to Mrs. Williamson and Ms. Lau for sharing your musical talents and helping us honor our veterans through song. A special thank you to Mr. Belisle and Mrs. Rupke and our stagecraft students for setting up the gym and ensuring everything ran smoothly. A thank you to Mrs. Dyer for all of her technical help. We also appreciate Mr. John Weir for live streaming today's program so that others could join us from afar. Thank you to all the students and staff who helped decorate and contribute to making this event so special, and to everyone here today for taking the time to honor those who have served. And most importantly, to our veterans, we thank you for your courage, your sacrifice, and your service to our country. Finally, we invite our veterans and their families to join us for a lunch provided by the middle and high school student councils in the cafeteria. We would like for the veterans and their families to exit the gym first, followed by the high school, who will exit through that door, and the middle school, who will exit through that door. So at this time, if our veterans and their families would like to join us in the cafeteria, please feel free to exit, and thank you everyone for coming today.